Sorry. No gavel.
They took it away from you today. I call the meeting to
I did
order,
look for it.
and we need to approve the minutes from the 4th and the 6th, I believe. Cheryl and Jay, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, staffing, straight back for a request you're going to inform us about.
Yes. Buildings and Grounds had a building maintenance mechanic vacate due to a retirement, and a building maintenance helper vacated due to a promotion. So that person moved up in that spot.
Backfilling government ops, right?
Yes.
Yep.
DPW highway worker 2 vacated due to a retirement. And in addition to the agenda was a sewer district position, a wastewater treatment plant operator trainee vacated due to a resignation. Caseworker vacated due to a resignation in social services. Also in social services, there was an addition. There were actually 2 social services examiners. One vacated due to a removal and the other vacated due to changing positions within social services. So the person stayed, but went to a different position.
Okay, those are all taken care of then, right?
Yep.
All right, now, oh, I'm sorry.
Resignations, I mean, anything with, raise the.
We didn't receive one for the sewer district. Mainly what we're seeing is just like in social services, it wasn't quite what they were looking for in the position, and they looked for a different job elsewhere, pretty much is what we're seeing there. Well, retirements have been up also in all of the departments, and that's just because they're ready, they're aging out. So otherwise, that's kind of the trend right now, is people leaving for other opportunities, and just like for social services specifically, we see the that they're not quite, they're younger, I guess you could say, so they don't quite know what the job entails, and then they're kind of like, yeah, this doesn't.
Couple years, there's been turnover, especially in the child protective takes one of the positions. When I started, we had one of the most experienced units in the area, and we probably have one at least.
It seems to be a trend.
Yes.
We did actually do some numbers just throughout the years on our kind of turnover. We consider them new hires, but it is due to like our position. We haven't added positions, so it's more of a turnover type of thing, but it's gone up every year since 2015. We didn't count COVID, but 21, 22, and 23, it's gone up every year.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all informational. Now we hit staffing pattern changes. These will have to be approved here and then approved at the board, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's a rep.
This one was moved from government ops for buildings and grounds to add 1 park manager to the Hewlett's Park. It would be a staffing pattern addition, and also recommending a $10,000 per position for each of the park managers. In government ops, Matt did request an $8,000 per position, but he did do a write-up for us explaining why he would ask for the 10,000. He crunched the numbers a little bit more, and for that position, he feels it should be the 10,000.
Remember, we went from 2 to 1 covering 2. And so he looked back to when it was 2, which is 2018, picked that salary out and didn't realize it's 4 years old. And he recommended 10,000 because the lifeguards are making almost that, right?
The seniors,
The
senior
seniors, yeah.
lifeguards, yeah.
So for buildings and grounds, out of government options, add 1 park manager with a salary of $10,000.
He did say, what did he say here?
He's got it.
Based on the last 5 years, he has breakage in his budget to cover this.
Dan,
What was in the budget, what was budgeted for this year?
One park manager at 11,000 and change,
So this will basically double that.
a little bit, yeah.
no? Okay. Moved by Dave. Second by Daryl. All in favor? Opposed? Carries. Attorney,
That's a question.
well, I'm sorry,
We're
Dan.
gonna have now two park managers, one.
Two individual park managers instead of one covering both.
This almost does double, like 90%. Or
Well, true, but when we went from 2 to 1, there was a reduction. So it gets us back to status quo plus the bump.
Where's the money for something like that come from?
Eastern taxpayers. Hartford taxpayers.
No, down for the budget. I mean, I'm just wondering, where do you transfer it in from?
Well, no, he's right, there's, the expenses exceed the revenue for the 2 parks.
Yes, always has.
Right.
No, but you gotta offset it, right? And when you add 10,000 or 9,000 to the budget, you gotta add a revenue stream to the budget, to balance it, right?
He already has the money in his budget because of breakage. He said that he would have plenty to cover the 2 positions.
Breakage in his budget for the parks.
Yes.
Well, no, I think it's in his point one. for
Seven.
buildings.
Oh, it's just
Seven.
going one for the whole buildings and grounds.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Two
okay.
two of his lines, he told us that he had breakage.
It's parks are separate.
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, it is, the 2 lines he gave, Al just confirmed they are both park budget lines. So he says that he has the money in there to cover it.
Interesting.
I'm sorry, but how on earth would he have it because they operate at such a huge loss?
Because they're already budgeted, Dan.
Because in the 2023 budget, it was budgeted for 2, but there's only 1.
He's gonna take it from a point whatever to a point 1 to cover that.
I'm sorry, but you can't just say point whatever, 2 point whatever. I mean, can you show me?
7.
A point 7110 and a point 7111 to the point 1, which is the salaries.
You're talking about Hewlett's or both?
Are those both
Probably
at 7? The 2 sevens are.
The 7110 is Hewitt, the 7111 is
It's
Lauderdale.
Lauderdale.
That's just their department number.
Which would lead me to believe there'd have to be a budget amendment we can get later in the year to cover that, right? Yeah. There'd have to be budget amendments.
Well, your budget in Hewlett's is 61,000, you got budgeted for point 1.
Right.
And he
The
has
lifeguard.
a room for $10,000 in that 61,000.
What he's gonna be short in his point 1s, Dana, I heard this yesterday, and then he couldn't make it, and his committee chairman couldn't make it, so it got dropped in our last minute. What we understand is he will be short in his point 1s because of this. He will make it a budget amendment from his point 7s to cover what he's short in his point 1s.
And it's, I guess, the Lauderdale and the Hewlett's 0.7 lines.
0.7.
There isn't.
I don't see a point.
7 is the department.
Department number. It's gonna be some
Oh,
other,
he's saying-
something in that department that will cover it.
What I remember saying, this is just my memory,
Mhm.
was that it takes so long to get lifeguards in and then some leave early. And his statement, I thought, was traditionally at the end of the year, I haven't spent all, he budgets for a full staff for a full year. And he never has the luxury of a full staff for a full year. So my memory was, he said, looking back, I traditionally don't use what's budgeted because I don't have a full staff for a full year. And he anticipated being enough breakage. If that is not true, then yes, there will have to be money from.
So your memory is it's actually a breakage within the point 1s of
Yes.
those places,
Yes.
not enough, so it won't be a budget
The
amendment,
2 parks combined,
so it won't be a budget amendment.
unless it has to go from one
Before,
park to another
okay.
park. So there may be something between the parks, but he anticipated the parks combined. would
Will
have
be within
enough.
would be within budget,
That was his anticipation.
yes. Dave,
So if we're moving this to finance and the full board to have this position,
We have the budget amendment today.
His claim is that he won't need one. So we'll have to let it play out and see if that's true.
Okay.
But the staffing pattern change will go to the full board.
Yes.
I've never heard of a 0.7.
No, I'm sorry.
I think
His point was that the 7110 and 7111 relate to the parks themselves.
Okay. All right,
Must
thank
be
you.
in the staffing pattern number or something.
It's Kevin is the department.
Right,
7110, 7111 is the department.
so. We also have the salary, the exempt salary schedule
Yes.
for the park manager, so that'll have to be changed as well.
That's
Yeah.
full board.
Full board.
Okay.
Do we vote on that, Deb?
I don't have, no, I didn't put it out.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay.
That both, the salary and,
in the staffing
exempt
pattern.
salaries.
Yes. And then the salary schedule.
So all three.
County attorney?
This was moved from government ops. It's to add one law intern to the staffing pattern. It would be a full-time temporary position over 10 to 12 weeks in the summer. And also it would add to the non-union title by grade schedule. We recommended a grade 12 at $23.63 an hour for the law intern.
So
Motion by Dave, seconded by
I'll second.
Daryl. Discussion?
I've indicated, I don't know if Roger mentioned the government option, we did get a collision.
What's the likelihood of filling it?
It's, assuming you approve it, it's fine.
Okay, good.
Question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. DPW,
This was a move from Public Works. Remove one account clerk from the staffing pattern and add one senior account clerk. Deb actually hired a senior account clerk. I think a couple months ago, we switched the staffing pattern. So, yeah. Allison, Poach.
But I'm not there.
No.
So she
How's it feel?
originally had senior account clerk in her budget for the year. She looked for an account clerk. We changed it then. We're changing it back now
to the original.
No budget impact.
no budget impact.
Moved by Jay, seconded by Daryl. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I believe we also had an MOA in progress for the Highway 2 to Highway 3 for construction season. That was talked about also in Public Works, so that's just kind of a note that she uses the Highway 2s as 3s if they're eligible for that.
Right.
So that's just a note that was brought from Public Works too. So IT, this was moved from IT to remove one cybersecurity officer from the county attorney, excuse me, and add one cybersecurity officer to IT. It would be a staffing pattern change.
There's the budget adjustment is coming out of
From
Attorney
county
office
attorney to IT.
IT.
Right. Are you moving it, Dave?
Yep.
Seconded by Daryl. Discussion? Dana?
Dave, is what you asked is money for .1 coming from county attorney and that money will go to IT?
IT, right. So she's not gonna be under a county attorney anymore, she's gonna be under IT.
But we're gonna transfer that money from the budget from county
Only
attorney
if,
budget to IT budget?
unless she has enough in her budget to cover that.
I think we were talking about that yesterday, and I think we're gonna probably be requesting that next month. Once we
budget
know, yeah,
Okay.
once we know how much.
Because
you buffer the range.
currently, yeah, we have it posted at the 71,354 to 76,845. So whatever that ends up being the hiring rate, it would be put in that way.
Any application?
Had one.
How long has it been out there? Not very long.
Not very long. No. Yeah, I think Terry's reviewed them. Have you gotten with her to check on?
I talked to her about a week ago in Hawaii, she had one halfway decent one, she had a lot of come in that were sort of low level.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean we shouldn't look through them and see if there is some potential.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, carried. Public health.
This was moved from Health and Human Services to add one office manager. It would be a temporary position to shadow the upcoming retirement of the current office manager between July and September, and the position would go away upon retirement.
Motion. Discussion.
Do they have enough wages?
I was unable to make the HHS meeting. Was that discussed? Was there breakage enough in their budget to they can cover this?
I believe so. I'm not totally here in the meeting yet.
Okay.
So if it's hope so, and there's not, we'll make amendments in like November or
Yeah.
something like that.
Exactly.
I don't anticipate more money needed for that. They usually have a lot of breakage and they've had a hard time filling some of the positions, so I don't expect that they will need that.
Dan?
Most of the salaries over there are reimbursable between 60 and 70%. Does this fall under that? Because this is a temporary position that we're creating to create transition.
With discussions that I've had with the commissioner in the past, I believe it covers all of the positions down there, and I believe it's 75%.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Dan. Public health.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Tina. I'm still listening.
Yeah,
No, that's all.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Sorry, I'm so ignorant to this. It says the position will go away upon retirement. So this is a shadowing position
Yes.
from July to September.
the retirement's supposed to be in September.
And is it anticipated that this temporary person will then you have to have another staffing pattern change when that happens?
It would only be to remove that temporary position. So I think we can do that now.
Usually we know
Yeah,
that.
we do it and then we know to remove it when that
Because
position
this is
is,
the temporary, does that mean it's part-time? Or is there a fringe?
it's full-time.
No fringe.
Full-time.
For temporary.
Temporary full-time.
Right.
All in favor? Opposed, carried. Sheriff.
This was moved from public safety. It's to add 4 deputy positions to the staffing pattern due to the dissolving of the Fort Edward PD.
Moved by Darrell, seconded by Dave. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed, carried. DSS.
So this is the last one for this. We're reclassifying that last welfare employment rep to a senior social services examiner. The position of welfare employment rep is vacating, so we're actually just transitioning that for the last time, so they're all senior social services examiners. It's the same amount of money, so there's no change. to it.
Civil services is changing the
Yes.
title, so it's disappearing.
Yes.
We're compliant now.
Yep.
Okay. So moved. That's Dave, seconded by Sue. Discussion. Yeah.
Rare form today, but this is rare. These personnel committees, they are by departments, correct? But there is no social services department. Unless it's, what, the budget, is it Department of Social Services?
60-10 supervisor.
What number?
60-10 is the department.
Oh, fine.
This one is even working towards having that change.
Yes,
And we're, that, the last one.
yes,
Oh, congratulations.
yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I wouldn't be that definitive.
I'm pretty definitive on this one. I don't think welfare employment rep position title will come back, so that's,
Okay, I'll make note of that.
yes. You can take my word, hopefully it won't.
All in favor? Opposed, carried.
I do have an addition to the agenda on social services. A typist was promoted, and we're trying to remove that title of typist and replace it with clerk. So due to the backfill for that, I would like to backfill with a clerk rather than a typist, which would also make it a staffing pattern change to remove the one typist and to add one clerk. And we only have 5 of them left. So as the 5 typists vacate, we'll be doing that.
Yeah.
Does the salary stay the same?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
So the other is just in your packets. We do have open enrollment scheduled for April 22nd to April 30th. We're having a few informational meetings in the chambers, and in your packet, you'll see the times in our little flyer that we hand out to the departments. So we're just doing that. Recently, a mailing was sent out by Benetech with a benefit guide with a letter explaining when these are as well, and gave a little bit of information to the employees about open enrollment.
Any questions on that? Okay,
The next thing, just a note, we attended the SUNY Adirondack Job Fair yesterday. 2 of our staff went along with Libby and Social Services. It was a great turnout. I guess they spoke to a lot of people. They got some applications. DSS had some interest. So it was definitely a good job fair to go to. So we're looking at more of the larger scale ones to attend. We did attend a couple small ones like around the area, which weren't attended very well, I guess. So we're looking more at the larger scale ones in the future. So that was just informational. Actually, in your packet, what we hand out are the flyer and then the QR code so that it'll bring you right to the job site. If you all want to bring these to your towns and just post them up somewhere for us, that would be great.
Question,
Yeah.
where is, Dan's never heard of it, so it can't exist. Where's Carter's Falls or Waterfall?
That's where the wall is.
I've been doing it.
I've been there a lot,
Where is it?
up in Hampton.
Hampton, it's right by the Vermont border. It's where the Polly River comes up and then it goes in. There's a hydro plant dam up there. That keeps on going. It goes into East Bay.
And then the Lake Lane.
And then there's also a cave down there which has Indian artifacts in it. On the walls, paintings and stuff.
Native American.
I'm sorry.
you're wanting a field trip, Dana, that we should go?
Yeah, I'll bring my kayak.
Get a big fan.
I'll bring what you.
That's
Yeah.
fun. I got some-
Go up there at
Have
night.
some bugs I can bring up.
Have some pets.
And also in your packet is the current employment opportunities with the county that are posted on the website. We have the just the straight employment opportunities, the current civil service exams, and the promotional exams, as well as our continuous recruitment exams, which are basically the IT positions for BOCES. We do keep that one listed all the time, so.
There's an action back on Carter's Falls. That's where Bigfoot was seen. White House in Hampton.
Just a guy carrying a bag of walleyes. Where's the last great
Yeah.
walleye?
All right, what do you got left?
The last thing is just retirements will be announced at the April 21st board meeting. They're listed on your sheet. And they were from the December 2022 to March 2023 time period. So
That's 220 years of experience.
yeah, a lot. We'll be missing them, I'm sure.
Anything else to come before personnel committee today? You good? You're good? You're adjourned. No. I'm not second on that.
Can you kayak as far as this one? From the New York side or Vermont side?
Is it right by the little bar? Ready to come across.
My tower. Rose was already, they had already. Where would you park?
Thank you.
You're gonna.
This is legend.
Yes.
You better wait for the water fountain.
Let's call the personnel meeting to order. So first order of business is the call to order the finance meeting. I need a motion to accept the minutes as mailed. Motion by Dan Hogan, second by Jay. Any omissions or corrections? All in favor? Carried. Next order of business is tab 4, the village of Greenwich as a request. It's up there so people can see it.
Morning, everyone, and thank you for agreeing to have me on the agenda. Mr. Millet advised me to start first with my request, so I will tell you that I'm here to request that the title for 10 Simpson Street be transferred to the Village of Greenwich when it's available. And I want to give you a little background about this property. At this point, it's a lot because the village, we demolished the house that was there. I'm just going to start with a little story. In 2010, Peter Keene, who had lived in the house since 1996, locked up the house and went on a trip to Michigan. He never returned. And unexpectedly, he had some health issues when he was out there, and he ended up in a veterans home out in Michigan. So starting from probably a few months after he left, we started getting complaints from the neighbors because the property was not being maintained. And from 2010 to 2020, the condition deteriorated. We had county code there a number of times. In 2013, I believe county code deemed the property unsafe. We had our own fire department and the health officer inspected. There was water in the basement, mold all over the house, and it was deteriorating. But he continued to pay taxes from 2010 until 2020. And like, for example, in 2015, we removed 5 tons of debris from the property. after the county code enforcement officer deemed it, unsafe. So we've been involved for a long time. Our attorney, Andy Kelly, tried to contact Mr. Keene and did speak to him. And he was talking about giving the title to the village, but he didn't seem to have the agency to get anything done. He had some dementia, and his family, for whatever reason, wasn't really participating. So in 2020, he died. And the property was inherited by his 3 daughters, one of whom lives in Brazil. Andy tried to get the heirs to turn the property over to the village so that we could, bring it back to health and life. It's a really attractive street. Someone would definitely buy it and build a house there. But in 2022, the property was collapsing. We had to cut a couple of trees down that were about to fall on the neighbors. And the neighborhood was, I'm sure they're all really angry at us, thinking that we should have done something sooner. But it was a difficult position to be in because, again, he was paying taxes until his death. Our attorney Kelly tried to get in touch with the 3 daughters, and 2 of the daughters agreed to transfer the title to the village of Greenwich. But the 3rd one was unreachable for some reason in Brazil and did not agree with that plan. So in 2022, it was collapsing, and the village, we decided we had to have it demolished for safety of the neighborhood. So we did engage someone to come in and demolish it. That person did an assessment for contamination. There was an oil tank in the basement. They removed that, and they took all the debris away. I guess the septic system consisted of just a hole in the ground. So that was, there's not a septic system, but village water does go to the property. So we spent about $28,000 on that demolition. And in addition, it was probably more in kind. Our DPW guys did a lot of work there, to clean it up. And what we'd like to do is, if we were so lucky as to get titles, we'd like to clean it up a little bit more and sell it on the open market to someone, someone who would want to. As I said, it's a very attractive place. It's right near the school, quiet street, etc. And we're hoping that we would be able to recover some of our costs and then, of course, pay the back taxes to all the concerned departments. Does anyone have any quick story?
Can we see it? Can we see the parcel? We have the ability to see it on the screen.
Sorry, I didn't bring any slides, but.
So I'm sorry, but I'm Dana from Hartford.
Hi.
You had mentioned that you wanted the street or the parcel, or is
Oh.
the street in part
No,
of the
no, I'm
parcel?
sorry. We just would like to have deed to the parcel so we could sell it.
As
I
well.
said it's on a very attractive, it's a nice little street right near the school.
How many acres is it?
I'm not sure about the size. There's
Or just
I have the
building lot-
parcel number,
Building
but-
lot, maybe?
it's just a building lot. Yeah, it's not large.
It's 100 by 120.
So are we don't have a lien yet because hasn't been 3 cycles that
It's headed to auction in July.
is heading to auction.
It's
Yes.
eligible to head this time around.
What are we owed?
As we said today, 12,559.11. Plus your lien.
Right, our lien is 28,000. And we haven't actually put a lien on it. There was a particular reason that we.
Well,
couldn't do
the county has made you whole on your taxes, is that correct? That's why the county forecloses, because you are made whole. The county's not made whole.
it. Okay,
What you expend to clean up a property, that's not part of your taxes.
right.
So I'm just talking about what are we owed on back taxes? And you say it's 12,000.
And
That's
change.
it behind, what is it?
Do you think the parcel will bring You said your plan was to, once you sell it, to pay back the county's taxes?
Yes. And
Have
then
you ever
we're,
done that, Al, where somebody promises to pay back the taxes after it's sold?
We've had two Market 32 property in the current Village of Fort Everett that you just did last month. We have two examples of the Uncle They Pay You Tuesday for Hamburger Today deals. We have several, a handful of deals where we just, if you look at the Hudson Headwaters property in East Street, Fort Everett, that was just a clear transfer to make that happen. So there's two different scenarios that you have done as a board before.
So in this case, would we say that we would transfer the title to you in exchange for $12,559 when you sell it? If you sell it for less than that, would you make up the difference yourself to the county?
yes, but I'm thinking out loud. I don't have my treasurer here, obviously, but it's possible that we should pay, well, that we owe the county even before we sell it, just to make you whole.
So Matt, next,
I'll defer to Jim.
Jim,
Correct me if I'm wrong now, but we went to auction. The bid was $6,000, the county would be out $6,000 some dollars, correct?
Yes.
Well, the village could bid on the auction. And the village could actually get it for cheaper than what you owe the county if you were a bidder at the auction. But
That's
you risk
true.
somebody, all you want is back on the tax rolls, right?
We want it back on the tax rolls. We'd like another housing unit. We're really short on housing units in the village. And we would also like to get some of our costs back for the demolition. We're assuming it's very possible we won't recover all of it, but it would be nice to
so then,
get some of it.
so in short order, you'd like to have it to sell it, so you could potentially get some money back from the.
So you want it to be pulled from the auction and transferred to you, instead of you trying to buy it at auction much less.
Correct. You know, we've never done that. I'm not sure that, I don't know if we would exactly know who to send to the auction or how to do it, but
It'll be online.
we would learn.
It'll be online. You have
But yeah, we wouldn't like to have someone else outbid us and lose everything.
Well said, Jim.
I'm just looking.
Back in 2016 or 17, the Village of Hudson Falls came to us with a similar proposition to start with kind of a policy. We declined their request. It was a similar situation. They were going to clean up homes and ask them to be able to take over ownership of the property and sell to recoup their profit. They were told flat no back then. So is this different than that?
Was they gonna compensate us for the back taxes? I thought they asked us to give it to them so they could clean up and they would have it. I don't recall them saying that they would make us whole on the back taxes.
That's why I say
I could be wrong.
I don't remember, but it was similar to this. They wanted money so they could go through the process of cleaning up properties and then they made it. They said no, I think it was unanimous at the time.
But it's just my recollection. I don't think they offered to pay the back taxes, but I could be wrong.
So there's 10 Simpson Street up there. Can you see that?
Mhm.
Outlined by blue.
Mhm.
That's a piece of property we're talking about.
And that's the school, that's the school fields.
Yeah, valuable piece of property.
It is, yeah.
Al, can you refresh me? Did we get paid for land taxes on the Fort Edward?
So the deal on Fort Edward was they would share in the profits. Unfortunately, by the time they got done, there wasn't any to be had. So the short answer is no. But I still stand by that deal today because that market 32 there, I think, benefited the county drastically. So I think the deal stands still valuable in lieu of the amount that was owed. I imagine the sales tax we've gained out of that property is well in excess of anything that we gave up at that time.
Any other questions? Matt? Sue?
With the attorney with the three daughters, the attorney has gotten an agreement from them saying that they are willing to sell it before that auction because in Salem, sometimes we've had somebody pay the back taxes 5 minutes before.
Oh, right, yeah. I don't believe we have any agreement with all three, because the third daughter who's in Brazil has been, or either made herself eligible, has not been.
How does that work out?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Al, we'd have to get the actual foreclosure first, saying that we own it, then we, if we want to do that, transfer it to the village. Because we'd have to get that to them.
Yes.
But that happens the night before the auction.
Yes.
We don't get title until the night before the auction,
Well,
so.
I file deed the night before. We get summary judgment about 30 days in advance.
So if we were to do this and transfer it to the village, it would happen until right before the auction. Because
It could happen anytime after the summary judgment.
I'll make a motion that we proceed down this with the understanding that they're gonna make us whole in that. Make a resolution.
Yeah, John?
Just a thought, I wanted to share this. What's fair and equitable? The village spent $28,000 to make this marketable, basically. And this could bring $12,000, probably easily bring $12,000 at an auction. But if the village hadn't done what they've done, that lot wouldn't bring anything with a fallen down house, contaminated, dilapidated, whatever. They've invested a lot of skin in this game, and we're worried about us getting the full value. I almost think that there ought to be a break to the village and not be looking for full value on that, because they've invested so much to benefit us. There ought to be some way of sharing that benefit back to the village.
Dan, you were there when the village of Hudson Falls came in and made their request. What was your recall what they wanted that was different?
Well, I was trying to remember that, and I'm not sure how that all went. How much did they invest in it before the?
They wanted to start the process of trying to clean up property, so before they undertook the investment, they were served as a partner, so they could do this kind of thing. I seem to recall it was pretty clear that nobody had any interest in doing it at the time.
I still remember there was an EPA.
I don't know, that's why I'm saying I don't.
I'm gonna
I'm
try to
asking
offer
you.
something up to make it second.
But in that case, there was an
Remember.
EPA lien, I think.
No,
That is.
Did I talk about the market?
that was where the Village of Hudson Falls could clean it up. And then through some kind of property maintenance situation, then put it back on the taxes. They were asking to do that, so they would be made whole for all the money they put into it. Isn't that what you were commenting on, something along those lines?
I don't remember the,
It was different than this, Dana,
I
as I
don't remember the
recall.
donation, but I do remember that they wanted to add it to the village tax bill and be made
Yes.
whole for it.
Yes, and then,
Is it different? Oh, is the end game different here than that? By just putting it on tax bill?
So
yes,
it's a very slippery, it's a huge liability to the county if we start allowing towns and villages to put property maintenance costs as re-levies.
Well, that's what we're doing here, essentially, we're not calling it a re-levy, we're doing the same.
no, we're not putting the 28 grand on it.
Right, we're not letting them levy the 28 out of the bill.
Property to do
Understood.
what they will, what's the difference?
Well, I think the difference is they've, for reasons of safety and whatever else, have stepped up and done something. Hudson Falls hadn't done it yet. They wanted to give them the property and then.
Because they want a commitment prior to, Bob, before entering into the agreement.
Right, and they didn't, they just took, the bull by the horns and did it.
And now they're asking us to compensate them for doing so, which is different. At least the village came to us and asked us, they wanted like some pre-approval before they started doing those kind of things.
Yeah, I think it was, it feels qualitatively different to me somehow, maybe not to you, like,
Absolutely.
but I think it feels qualitatively.
Matt, will you finish?
Sure.
John? We haven't started yet. How was it?
I'm looking at it, I don't see where the village of Cambridge is asking for any money from the county.
Right.
Sell the property at the profit.
So as long as you pay the taxes,
They might not.
I don't understand.
So
We gotta do it, just tell the village of Hudson Falls, come back in and request it again. I expect everybody in here to support it.
Well, if they come back the same way, I would support it.
Okay, fair enough.
If the village of Hudson Falls cleans it all up and invests money, you pay for taxes.
No, it's that's what they wanted to do at the time. I don't, that might, you might be right. It may have been a different scenario, but I think it's gonna ultimately result in the same objective for them. So I'll just tell them to come back and we'll give them full approval for this.
If somebody wants to make us whole for a property, I think our interest ends there. What do we care if they're gonna make a profit or not? This is capitalistic America, you're supposed to, right? They've invested money, they can recoup their money, that's a risk, they're taking a risk, but they're gonna make us whole, we have no risk. We've been made whole.
They're gonna take the property.
So what?
Prior to foreclosure, which normally you're not. in favor of.
Well, they're during the foreclosure process, as soon as Al has deed and full title that we can transfer it, that's when it would be done.
So,
I commend you for actually looking at a property that didn't have a septic system, sounds like it was caving in, it's like a public health concern. It's near the school, I'm sure if that building and the house was vacant, it's a wonder it's still standing, I'm sure it became a place to explore in for kids and everything else.
We tried to prevent that, but
Yeah,
but
but
it's difficult.
it is so hard. And so I appreciate the fact that you were farsighted enough to know that you had to do this building and move forward.
all right, I'm gonna call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No, at this time. Is that voting for calling the question or is that voting on the motion?
Vote on the motion.
Then you shouldn't call the question.
Vote on the motion.
More questions.
No question to call.
No,
Quickly,
you're
Jane, we got a long
Questions?
schedule. We got a long schedule today. So all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? One no for the time being. No?
And just a significant footnote is, so long as I can take deed to this and transfer it.
Yep.
That has not happened yet. Being that this, I found out information today that I didn't know, I need to have a conversation with the county attorney. I'm not entirely comfortable that I can cross the finish line on this.
That was the one question I had. 12,000 is gonna be in our hand before you turn the deed over.
That's what Dan said.
This would work a lot like the privilege of whatever deal that you just did. So long as I can actually file deed to it.
Okay, we got the next thing.
Thank you.
All right, next item is Friday Tacon Road. We can't be here today. So next is on the health insurance renewal.
He sent Daryl my information.
Well, I thought we were discussing and wait for her to be here to answer questions.
Would you like them at the table or the podium or got Darren
Wait.
and John?
This is the easier for you.
To be on,
Yeah,
yeah, to be on the camera.
should be, you gotta be on camera.
Okay.
You got an answer, sir? Yes, you may have this.
So Benetech is here to give us some information. We have John Kenichi and and Darren Mosier.
Pull it up for people.
Yes, Debbie can pull up your slides.
So it's time for renewal of insurance,
Yes.
and Benetech's our new representative.
Yes.
He's hitting the ground running, so they have some things to recommend to us. Look at that. So you got 20 seconds. I'm just kidding.
Well, thank you very much for your time this morning. So if you want to go to the next slide, please. So on this screen, you see a big number, both literally and figuratively. Incurred claims estimate for the plan year, June 1st through May of 24. And what I wanted to do first is I wanted to explain to you what an incurred claim is, okay? So an incurred claim, today is April 13th. So if I go to the doctor today, that claim was incurred in the month of April of 2023. That claim may get paid in April, it may get paid in May, June, so on, down the road, okay? But your liability is for that period of time, June through May, regardless of when that claim gets paid. You know, some claims will obviously get paid after that plan year ends. So we need to make sure that we're allotting money for that. So what I do is I go through and I get a report. It's called the lag report. It shows me how many the dollars that were paid in a certain month and what month they were incurred. And then what I do is I build out completion factors, okay? So for instance, in the month of April, claims that were incurred in April and paid through May, okay, so that would be 2 months. Roughly, you're looking at about 90% of claims for that month of April have been paid through May. There's still a lag of about 10% that will be paid over the next year to two years. Most of it will occur in the next month or two, but that's just historically how claims run out, because many claims today are filed electronically. Your prescription claims are filed electronically, but we also have claims that run through secondary payers first, okay? That might be the person's spouse has another coverage, or it might be Medicare was primary, something along those situations. So that's what I do, and then I trend that forward because we're looking at claims that we have today. Those claims are going to cost more during the 23-24 plan year. So I come up with the estimated claims incurred. Okay.
What's the percent increase on that?
On the trend?
Yeah, what's your growth factor?
The trend on health is 8.2, and on drug it's 12%. And those are consistent with what all the major carriers in the greater capital region are using for trends. What I do is I look at their factors and then I, use something that I feel is in place. Any other questions on this? Next slide, please. So now this page is the estimated total cost for the 23-24 plan year. And what we've shown here is two types of programs. One is called the minimum premium, which is the plan that you have right now. And there's another one called the administrative services, or ASO only contract, okay? On the incurred claims line, you'll see it's the same for both, okay? And what that basically means is no matter if you were in a minimum premium or an administrative services only contract, your incurred claims would be the same because the benefits remain the same, the way the claims are processed remain the same. It's just, these are the incurred claims for that period of time. Doctors' reimbursements are the same, okay? It doesn't matter what type of plan design you're in. Whatever you're paying, like a community care or Glens Falls Hospital, is the same for that service. Okay? Retention and administrative fees. So what those are basically the cost that the carrier, in this case Highmark, charges for processing claims, answering phone calls, all those kinds of programs there. They also put in profit in that area as well, okay? So in the current arrangement, they are at about $696,000 in fees for the 23-24 plan year, okay? Under an administrative services only contract, that number would be about $287,000. And that's using the same number of contracts under both plans. So we put it on an apples to apples basis, okay? Next line is called pooling charge or stop loss. And those are basically the same thing. One is under the minimum premium and one falls under the administrative services. But what they are is the protection for any large claims that you may have, okay? In this scenario, in both scenarios here, under the minimum premium with Highmark, the pooling charge would be $250,000 on each person during that plan year. So what that means is Washington County would be responsible for the first $250,000 on each man, woman, and child, okay? Currently, that's $150,000, but they do not offer that under their new Highmark since they used to be Blue Shield. But now under Highmark, for a group of your size, it's $250,000, okay? Same thing under the administrative services. That is priced out at $250,000. And you can see under the minimum premium plan, the fee is about $213,000 less than the pooling charge, okay? RX rebates, that's drug rebates. Currently, right now, under a minimum premium, that's a fully insured product. The carrier, Highmark, keeps any drug rebates that come back.
Darren, can I just interrupt you for a second? Because I don't know that we're all aware that currently we have the minimum premium plan. That's the way that that's the plan we have right now. So currently, what you're saying is we don't get any prescription
Correct.
rebates. The carrier gets all those rebates.
Yes, yes. So when your members go to go to pharmacists and they get certain drugs, there's rebates that the PBMs pay back on these drugs. Right now, that money is being kept by the insurance company, Highmark, okay? Under an administrative services only contract, you would get rebates back, okay? And that's why I have a minus $350 there. You would get $350,000 is the estimate back. And honestly, I looked at another one of our clients with Highmark that had similar type of cost that you did, and that number may be may be conservative. It may be higher than that, okay? But I didn't want to go too high because I wanted to put a number that I thought was realistic.
If the insurance company doesn't keep the rebate, does that cost go on to the consumer?
No. The
So it's
consumer.
not discounted to the consumer because they keep the rebate?
No, the consumer would still pay their same drug copay that they pay today. The benefits are still the same. The consumer is not involved in all in this part of the action.
So the cost isn't transferred?
No. So when we then take a look at the total estimated cost, if you add down the numbers on the left, you get that $9,468,000 number, okay? If you add down the numbers on the right, you're at $8,921,000. So there is the potential savings of $546,000.
If we were to go to the ASO.
Correct. Sir.
Okay,
Under the minimum premium, Highmark, that's the system we have now with Highmark. If you go under the other one, who would administer that? Is that what Benetech does?
That would be Highmark as well.
Oh, they both would be Highmark.
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't make
Yeah.
that clear before. Yes, so it would be the same plan designs that members have now. Right now, members are offered 4 different plan designs, okay? So that would be the same plan designs. They'd be able to go to the same doctors, hospitals, pharmacies. None of that changes. It would be transparent to the member.
okay.
Both plans are now at 250, the rate where the county covers,
They will be in June.
and that used to be 150 under the minimum, correct?
The current minimum,
Not
yes.
that it affects the bottom line here, but Al, how much is that going to this for in the long run? Another 100,000 that.
So it depends on how many high cost claimants you have in a year. The analysis that I did at the 150 is we spent more on the insurance for the 150 than the 150 saved us. So I don't have concerns about the increase because we haven't, I'd rather spend less on the insurance than use it at the 150.
Yeah, from our perspective, we actually think the 150 is too low.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't think it was actually a good value place to be.
And
Cost of the premium.
the premium for that insurance is built into your rates. So if you can lower the cost of that insurance, you can stabilize the rate as well.
Let me just tell you that on the administrative services side, all right, they gave us a quote at 150, okay? But that number was double that 477,000. So, you'd have to have significant claims in a year for that to happen, which has not happened in the past.
So we have our current cost of our insurance. Our estimated next is 9.4 if we stay with it.
The renewal would be the 9,467,000 that you see on the screen.
That was how much we jumped from last year?
Do we have the percentage of the increase from last year?
You were with us last year, so
I don't.
I think you said 8%.
Was it?
About $1 million, I feel like it was 8,485 last
$1 million.
So did you shop this other places too?
Yes, we shot this with Empire Blue Cross. And their prices came in higher than what you're seeing here.
Significantly.
16%, 12%, 16%, is that?
Higher that they were probably 10 to 12%. Yes.
So I think that what we're talking about here is going from minimum payments to self-insured. And we've looked at this for several years, and I'll let Al fill in, but there was some risk to it. And now I think that there's a place where Al is maybe more comfortable with risk. So how would you explain it, please?
Yeah, can
We have
you
another slide
go to the
here.
next slide? That'll kind of show some of the features here of both programs. So again, on the left is the minimum premium, and on the right is the ASO contract. Okay, so under the administrative fees and risk charges. So risk charge is just basically a word for profit that insurance companies use. Okay, so as we saw on the prior page, they're higher cost under the minimum premium and lower cost under the ASO. Rebates, as we saw on the prior page, you don't get rebates under the minimum premium, you would under the ASO. The pooling and stop loss, both, one's called one and one's called the other, but they both offer you that protection for large claims. Claims run out, this is something that I talked about with the incurred claims, that if you canceled a program, you still have to pay that run out. So right now, under minimum premium, you have what's called a terminal liability, okay? And you purchase that coverage. And on the ASO, in that 8 million number that I showed you at the beginning, the 8.5 number, we've reserved for that already for the run out of that, okay? Cash flow mechanism, the minimum premium has that, the ASO doesn't. But what that is just basically means in 1 month, your claims could be higher and you wouldn't pay as much in a minimum premium, but then in the next month, they have the right to call that amount. So it's a cash flow, just timing mechanism.
Basically, it's a series of debits and credits moving forward.
Your cost.
You know what I mean? So it's just dealing with the timing of money more than anything, if that makes sense.
Your cost is still going to be your cost. Your incurred claims, like I showed on the last screen, 8.5 under both arrangements, okay? And then under design flexibility, with the minimum premium, you basically have to take what Highmark files with the New York State Department of Financial Services. Under an ASO, you can decide within reason of what they can write, you would have flexibility. So if you wanted to change a copay here or something along those that you got agreed to in negotiations, you'd be able to do that, whereas you might not be able to under the minimum premium.
Question?
Yeah, on that design flexibility, I'm not in the insurance plan, so I don't know, but I know there is a wellness card that they get and everything. And I've been noticing at the meetings, this is, what you can do with that wellness card has been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Is this something we could change? Say, yeah, you could, if you want something else, you can do it.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things we've been discussing actually is.
When we met with Benetech a couple weeks ago, that's one of the reasons why, among others as far as the financial, but the flexibility in what we can do with the wellness program, because right now we're paying to give every employee the wellness benefit, which is a $250 card that everybody gets. You're absolutely right. They've made it so that you can't use that wellness card for much more than gym memberships and vitamins right now. So massages, acupuncture, those things that a lot of employees use those wellness cards for, they can't anymore. So my concern is everybody has these cards, they're not going to use them. There's going to be money left on the cards. So therefore the county is paying for something the employees aren't using. So that's one of the reasons why we like this ASO.
So the money's left, where's it go back to the insurance?
Well,
keep it.
They keep, and our usage is right now 28% of the.
Which
employees are
is,
using it.
and that's not abnormal this time of
Right.
year, because a lot of employees wait till
We'll
the
use it
last
till
month.
the end.
And they're like, oh, I better use my wellness card, and they all use it. But yeah, it
It's
is
still
kind of
low.
low, yeah.
Do you have anything else, Danielle?
No, just if we enhance the wellness program, like Melissa was saying, we think that would be more beneficial to the employees.
We're paying for it, we're gonna be using it.
Right.
Any other questions or? Dan?
I had one, and I don't always look at things maybe in an odd way, so this is gonna sound strange. We have the MP and the other option is the ASO, right? And the renewal we have would be for the MP. Are you coming here today presenting this other option as maybe a better alternative with higher risk or with the same amount of risk, only different risk? I'd like a little summary, since you're recommending it, I'm assuming, and you didn't come out, you're just showing us the difference, but I like the fact that you're saying you recommend it. The risk factor. Because you're showing potential savings, we often jump on board with potential savings. What's the risk factor if we went with the savings? Higher, lower, different?
Well, I would say, again, your risk overall would be the same, okay? Because your claims are your claims are your claims. Again, the only thing, right now you're paying your claims as you would under the minimum premium. It's just a timing issue, okay? When do you pay those claims? Do you pay them this month or do you pay them next month or the month down the road? You still owe, based off of the minimum premium, you're allowed to be at a certain cap in a month, okay? So that's why I presented the 8.5 under both plans, okay? Because really the risk is minimal because it's only a cash flow item. If you have the money in the budget, which you do, then you're going to be saving money by getting back rebates that you're not getting now, okay? So really what you have to look at is that savings, potential savings of $546,000. Is it worth having that cash flow thing that protects you in a month for probably not for $546,000, right? Maybe for like $10,000 or something along those lines, but not for that amount. So really, I've been doing this for 35 plus years, and this is something that I feel you guys would benefit from.
So basically you're saying it's a no-brainer. That's what I mean.
In essence, you're paying $550,000 for a cash flow mechanism, which you don't need. You already are fully reserved.
Yeah.
We don't have a cash flow problem.
You don't have a cash flow
Well, I know
issue.
that.
And the incurred claims number includes a reserve already.
Yes.
So
I see two factors here.
one that is, so it was the uncertainty with claims. We talked about this in personnel with the fact that our workforce is getting a little bit younger. And therefore, perhaps the risk associated with claims is gonna go down a little bit. Not guaranteed, but that usually trends down, we talked about it in our workforce, and then cash flow. So you hedge your bets against cash flow problem, which we don't have, so not that it's a no-brainer, but I think it makes sense to go with ASO at this point.
So the question is we don't ASO this time? In the future, would you evaluate to see if it's better to go back to minimum claim, or has that ever happened?
We could certainly look at it, but I don't see how that would benefit you from a cost thing, because you'd lose the rebates then, and your administrative fee would go up higher. So if your claims are your claims are your claims, okay, then really you're only looking at the other factors, and under a minimum premium, your other factors are higher cost, and you don't get rebates than it would be under the ASO.
So the risks are what the claims are in the next health claim year. See how much that goes up or goes down, which is going to affect either one of these options.
You would get in the next renewal, that would impact both programs, right? If your claims go up under minimum premium or as ASO, you'd have a higher increase. If your claims stay stable or go down, then you'd have a lower increase at work.
But ultimately, you always book the incurred claims back to the year that they happened. In fact, Al, I believe you actually book, Al actually goes back and books the actual incurred claims in the year it belongs in. So it becomes a true cost to you anyway. So again, we're dealing with the timing of cash, really.
Sue?
So I think you just answered my question. It sounds like Al's been doing this right along, and he wouldn't have to take on additional responsibilities to manage a self-insured.
No, there would be no additional work for Al.
The mechanism is really the same.
It's not really hugely dissimilar from the minimum premium product, other than right now, Highmark gets to sweep all the gravy off the potatoes, so.
And those are real savings dollars, though. That $550,000, I mean, that's real savings. That's money that you would have paid out regardless of what the
Being
claims
able
are.
to be involved in a plan design is huge. If Melissa and the board and Danielle can work together on a program that makes sense, if internally you can build mechanisms that help drive costs down, because again, you invest in wellness programs for an ROI on the claim side. And right now, with the program that's out there, you're not getting a return on it because people just aren't using it. So if internally you can design something that helps drive claims down, then everybody.
And on that, part of the issue that's come to our attention is that we have employees that aren't seeing the doctor at all. So they're not going to cancer screenings. They have no claims incurred at all. And there's really no way to reach them with a wellness program with the design we have right now. You can give them that $250 card, they're gonna buy whatever.
So when an employee
vitamins.
finally goes,
Yeah, it's gonna be very expensive. So if we can reach them before it gets to that point, we could possibly save money and maybe some lives.
And if I may add, it gives us access to the data in a different way under this arrangement. Right, which will help us deal with the engagement of employees in those scenarios. But right now, we're kind of limited to what the carrier provides us. But the analytical tools that we will have in place, we'll be able to utilize under this ASO. So we'll have more data for the county to look at.
In the past, whenever a broker mentioned us going to be self-insured, pretty much kick them out of the room. What has changed because it's called ASO instead of self-insured? What have we evolved? We've heard it so much that we're now okay with it. That's my question. What has changed?
there's better protections in place and our fund is grown to a point where we can sustain any of the hiccups that come, because to John's point, the minimum premium gives me a nice flat $585,000 a month that I'm gonna be paying. This is gonna have, it might have $1 million a month and then go down to $100,000. It's gonna have peaks and valleys. So the fund that where we reserve all this money has gotten strong enough that it can sustain those kinds of cyclical things that are gonna come in waves. So the fund has become stronger. The stop loss protections in place at 250 are more robust than they were. So we're protected like we weren't before. The fund has grown to a stable point where it wasn't before. And there's now significant rebates available. So there are some differences from when this first was brought to us.
And we were right with you, Supervisor Happ. We never were supportive of it either. And
Right.
this time, our conversations and with the budget officer, it seems to make sense for us now.
Is it because our fund has grown because we've been under the minimum premium? Is that why? And if that's the case, maybe we shouldn't switch? Why did our fund grow?
Because we were able to get claims coming in lower than Highmark told us they were going to. So we artificially had to charge rates that weren't necessary.
Okay.
So the rates that we pass on to the employer, to the employees, they pay 25%, the county pays 75%. Those rates are based on Highmark saying, we think you're gonna spend 9 million this year. So we then take that 9 million over the census that's enrolled and come up with back into a rate. And what happened was for the past 10 years, we've been charging a rate that was substantially more than what the actual claims ended up being. In 2022, we budgeted $900,000 use of the fund and only used $413,000. So the fund is doing, the claims are better than projected. So we're in a position now where if we go ASO, we control the ship, we control our own fate, and when there's surpluses, they stay with us, not Highmark.
Sam?
Yeah, I probably missed this somewhere along the way, but if the administrative fees change, but they're still going to be doing the administration, how can they do it any cheaper? I mean, administration is administration. It's going to cost them as much to do one bill as it does another, I would think.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my question is, I know there's a significant difference in the ASO versus that we're not administrating, they are.
Right.
So how can they administrate one play in the opposite if the claims are going to be the same number?
It's called profit. Because all they do now, Sam, is process the bills. They become a billing department. So it's profit. They're not taking on
It's
any
all in the
risk.
margin or the risk margins they put in.
Because the 350 wasn't taken out of that, that was taken out of, we were just taking out something else. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
But in essence, you've been self-insured all along,
Right.
if you think about it. What you've been purchasing is a cash flow mechanism, which just deals with the timing of the claims. But in essence, you've really been paying your way all along.
And the other difference was 10 years ago, we stopped, when there was a surplus, we stopped just letting the budget officer take it and do circuit and do other things with it. We started saving it. A couple of years ago, you decided not to save as much as we had originally started. This was all 10 years ago. And now it's like,
It was more than that because we went minimum premium when Phyllis was still here. So I started this position in 12, so it's not.
so, anyway, we had some, I think actually Gail was budget officer at the time we did that. I was, pretty much in support, and you may read, some of you that were here may recall, I was kind of pushing it.
I think it was $1 million in that first year.
Yeah. But it's been, it's been just growing and growing. I think, I wasn't comfortable with it 2 years ago. I was still not comfortable with it last year. I think I am comfortable with it this year.
Well, and that's the follow-on to this is managing that fund. And that rate of savings, eventually we want to get to a balance point. Hopefully we pass on some savings to our increase wellness program. Or return to doing that.
I think that's this current year that did go into help with treatment.
Current year was the last
Last year and this year both.
Yep.
We're looked at a 0% increase last year and the same for this coming year.
We just got on board in rapid swings, just
Of course, on the other hand, our employees do contribute 25% of the premium, which is quite high.
John,
No.
bottom line, what does it do for employees? Now they change the structure.
The end user won't see a difference.
This is all behind the scenes,
Actually, to get more flexible use of your wellness card.
eventually.
Eventually, once we-
What else you got?
So what we're looking for, I guess, if the committee approves it, would be to approve going to the ASO plan, because we would need a board resolution.
And we're also asking for a non pro tunc, if I remember correctly. So now I can sign the contracts, we can get going, we have open enrollment coming up first of May.
We ran into this time crunch last year, if you remember. Finance authorized me to execute the contract and then bless it at the board meeting, because we kind of need to give Benetech their marching orders today in order to meet that June 1st.
And actually, last year, it didn't go to the board, we didn't even have a resolution
It
for
just came out
it.
of
So
finance.
finance approved Al to sign, and then we were set, and then we can get going with the contracts.
So any other questions? I didn't entertain a motion to allow Al to sign the contract over the ASO that's more enforced by David. Do I have a second? Daryl? Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Just shocked everyone.
Thank you.
I'll be here as June 1st.
Okay,
That is making them. We're doing agreement.
Access to the property.
We're gonna re-levy all the property maintenance costs that all incurred on the tax bill. And when the tax bill is not paid, we reimburse them. All not paid.
So if we just adjust it to say, we have a policy going forward where if a village goes in and cleans up every property.
They're not looking for the 28,000. Hudson Falls is looking for the property maintenance costs.
Right, I understand.
Pretty much is
We
looking
get-
for that.
But if we have a policy now in place where a village can go in, demolish property, incur that expense, and then we'll just transfer title of the property to the village going forward, like we're doing.
If they pay the taxes.
Everybody in here votes.
If they pay the taxes.
If they pay the taxes, yeah, that's great. As a village, we'll jump right on.
That model will work, yes.
Yeah, okay. I expect everybody's support.
Always a
Regardless.
policy in the county.
What I mean is a nail. I know how these people are.
Wasn't always
Dan's
a
got the floor.
policy.
We rationalize stuff differently depending on. who it
Counties
is.
or villages had first refusal on property.
pardon, Dan's got the floor. Dan?
Yeah, I thought it was always a policy, has been, that I remember, that any parcel property that came up for a tax sale, a town or the village that it was in had an opportunity to buy it for the back taxes. I mean, there's not, excuse me, not a policy that the board accepted, but it was a past practice. I remember that past practice from years ago. Whenever there was if the town wanted a piece of property that was going up for back taxes, or if a village did, at the day of the auction, it was pulled and they paid the taxes and they had it. I've seen that before.
Not since 2012, you have.
Maybe not too, I saw back in 2000, 2002, 3.
Now you're admitting your age. All right.
County streets to it.
Back to the agenda, real property services, the report of corrected tax bills.
So you should have a report of the corrected tax bills that I did. We had two. One was based on an forced exemption of the property, and the other one was based on a incorrect acreage on the property, which the land value was not correct. And then in your packet, you should have a resolution to correct the tax roll. And there's two there. The first one I'll just touch on a little bit, only because it's a little different. There was a property in the town of Granville that was subdivided. So the school bill went out with Load Zone F on there, LLC, because they were the owner at school time. The town and county bill went out with Carolyn Longren, because she was the owner at county time, town and county time, sorry. So that's why there's two names there. They've subdivided the property. Everything else we got was fixed, and they each paid. We did a certificate of divided assessment, and each owner paid their share of the taxes. But this one had an incorrect assessment on it. When it was assessed, it was originally assessed to have solar panels on it, and it was actually vacant land. So we have to do this correction to make it to the value of the vacant land to do the certificate of divided assessment, so they can each pay their share. It's different than the norm, and I just wanted to explain that.
So we need a motion to correct the tax roll.
So
Jay, second by Daryl. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carrie? Anything else?
Nope, the only thing I have is everybody should have maps over there on your table. The FEMA maps, those are draft mode. They're gonna be discussed in the meeting after the board meeting. We have ordered a couple rolls of laminate, so once everything gets approved, and I know maps change on occasion, these will probably change on occasion. If your town wants that laminated, just let us know once, I mean, it's draft now, so we just soon save our laminate, but we can make copies for everybody and laminate them if they want them at that point.
Dana?
If I wanted two, would I pay extra for the second one, if the first one,
Double, no, I'm just kidding, I'll be free.
second one be?
I mean, is it for town purpose or
Yes.
for your own personal?
Town purchase. I need one from my floodplain administrator, and then I also signed LRCC one.
Okay.
So the two people that can sign an LRCC one, I want to have that.
Just
Are the old maps digitized? in-
No, they're not. And they're sectioned off that they don't even, you can't even like take them and tape them together to make a good town map.
I'm finding it very hard looking at the digitized graph. It's turning into paper maps.
You're right, because those paper maps were not good and very old. So luckily, we were one of the last counties in New York State, or, in this area to get it done. So we're happy to have what we have. We can also send PDFs if you want to zoom into certain areas or something like that. We do have a PDF. Heather does have a PDF and we'll have it.
Okay.
Thank you, Laura. That helps me a lot where I am, because I'm not handing you.
I know, not a problem. Thank you.
Okay, next item, treasurer monthly reports.
Your first page is the sales tax recap. As you can see, we're staying strong so far this year on the sales tax deposits. We're about $465,000 over this time last year. And those are for deposits through January 31st. So we are into the 2023 activity finally. And that the deposit from this morning of $460,000 is an actual true up for January's receipts. So it's not a tax and finance's guess of what we're going to get. It is the actual returns. So I feel much more able to be comfortable with the number, knowing that that's the actual return. I still can't prognosticate where that trend is going to go because disposable income is not what it was this time last year. But right now, it's staying strong, and see where it goes.
Good.
Cash balances this time of year are a little bit higher than normal because we've got the towns that started turning over to us the county portion of the tax bills. So this is probably when we're at our fullest. And what's great about that is at the same time, you all started sending me some big checks. The insured cash sweep account at Glens Falls National went up to 4.84%. So I can't hate that. So we're a little bit better off in the sales tax, and we're definitely better off in the interest. I was joking with the budget officer, we had got more interest in the month of February than we had earned in the whole previous year. So it's a drastic change in how we look at interest right now. So we'll see what happens with things going. I know that inflation finally slowed down to a little over 5% this month, right? So it started to slow down. We're probably going to see the other rate hike, unfortunately, to slow down inflation again. But that just means we're going to pay more when we borrow. Right now, the borrowing that we just renewed in March, we borrowed at a lower rate than what I'm earning. I'm not happy about that either.
Borrow more.
And then the budget to actual, I gave you the first look at 2023. So this is the 1/4 of the year in, and we're about $1 million better this time this year at the same time last year. And 400,000 of that is directly sales tax. And I haven't really delved into the other than I think that we're a month ahead on our social services claims too. But, so the general funds trend so far this year is pretty strong as well. The other thing that I'll note, because there's, there'll be bad, there's always bad news from me later in the morning, so. I will say though that the carpool is still at a loss, but it's less of a loss this year at this time than it was this time last year. So that the change that you made in the rates does appear that it's starting to pay back. We'll see where the rest of the year goes. But for the first quarter, the loss in the first quarter was less than the loss in the same quarter last year. The carpool fund is still in trouble, and you'll hear from me again when there's a resolution later in the packet that we'll be talking about. But right now, it looks like that change is starting to creep up to make a difference. The last page in the report just put a bookmark in that for now. We'll come back to that later in the agenda.
Any questions for Al? The next item is the resolutions. The first one is that to increase revenue technology projects, whereas the county created a capital reserve for information technology projects. And whereas the finance committee desires to increase reserve utilizing surplus monies from IT 2022 departmental budget, now therefore it is reclassify $71,297 unreserved unappropriated fund balance with a general fund to reserve fund balance. A motion? Motion by Gerald, so I have a second. Second? Pass? All right.
Question.
Yes.
So it's gonna send us money to a reserved fund balance in general fund. Is it an IT reserve fund balance?
Yes. All in favor? Carried. Next is personnel services. We're gonna move to cybersecurity. Staffing pattern, move the cybersecurity officer to information technology and amend the staffing pattern and budget. Halfway.
Just that.
Just
Staffing pattern. Okay. By Joe, Lewis, second by John. Any further questions? Dan?
Yeah, I heard you mention in personnel that you weren't going to transfer the salary though that was in the attorney's line over to IT. Why wouldn't you do that? Follow the person.
Said we would.
We will. Not
Well,
yet.
you will. Oh, I thought you said you weren't going to.
When we find somebody and we find out the full cost, we don't know that yet. There's a range in the.
But whenever that occurs, then that money will transfer. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. I misunderstood.
Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Statutory grants going to IT. EPW, grant carryovers. Grant carryovers, who moved it? Jay moved it. Do I have a second? John? Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Next is amendment 2023 county road fund budget to carry up over unspent Lake Champlain Basin program grant funds. Second.
No, we just did that. You're doing the water quality improvement now.
You're on the
You're usually one ahead, Dave, not one behind.
All right, I want resolution
E.
E.
So move it.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Next resolution, amend 2023 budget to carry over unspent water quality improvement grant
The culvert.
for the culvert. Second by John. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think we need caffeine.
Carpool, there was a shortfall in the VA vans and sheriff vehicles. And it was a $61,000 difference. Explain this to you here.
the committee discussed it and the veterans agreed, requested 2 vans and there was money shortage. And they said, go ahead and get the 2 vans and then we will pull money from. No.
Motion? Motion by Jay, second by Daryl. Any further discussion?
Yes. Put your finger back in the bookmark. Just wanted everybody to know, if you look down on the 2022 column of that carpool fund balance, unassigned, unappropriated, is only $156,000 a year. I just want you to be very aware of that when you're passing this resolution. That's really low.
Taking 60 out of that 156.
We're taking 60 out of 156, so I just want you all to know that when you, as you proceed. I'm not telling you to not do it, I just want you to be aware that it is very, very low.
Yeah,
How many vans do we have now for Veterans Department that are wheelchair accessible?
one.
And with, in light of what Al says, is we're going to 2 and we're going to have a shortfall and we're running low on money on that. Should we consider staying with the one and buying the other van that's not wheelchair accessible? They still get 2 new vans.
Well, we
went through that.
DPW, we were half an hour on this subject, weren't we? Yeah.
Part of the reason.
Remember that?
Yeah, but Al didn't speak up like he just did. That's why I'm asking.
The reason for that, Dan, is because now they traditionally take the veterans to the Army Medical Center. So they have place on there for 2 ambulances or 2 wheelchairs that can fit on there with the lift. But in the very near future, they're not going to be going directly there. They're going to be taking them out to the communities and going in different directions. So in theory, you're going to have the same number of veterans, but one may have to go to Clifton Park at 10 in the morning and the other may have to go to Rutland at the same time frame. That's why it was 2.
That's where the VA is changing their care and their outsourcing. So we're not going to be sending the veterans to one location.
Some going to Vermont, New Hampshire. Different places.
My intention was more to plant the seed for your 2024 budget discussions, to make note of the fact that that fund balance is low. We're going to have some serious conversations moving forward.
Mr. Hatt?
After this, we'll have 3 vans, because we have 1 now.
No, that was going to be probably for us because of my other stuff out of here.
Any other questions?
Can you get a senior van with this, the old one? Be good
All in
for-
favor? Opposed? Carried.
Minivan, 2,500.
We now have water quality improvement project for Washington County CR 23 drainage improvement.
I'll say.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Next on my list, auction truck result.
We're doing I and J. A whole bunch more.
Auction truck.
Oh, he's going off the agenda, that's why.
Oh. Okay. Aye. We're back to truck results. Okay. Aye. Amendment 2023 sewer district number 2 budget 197 bridge sewer line project. Jay, second by Dana. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
J, capital project number 121 sewer district number 1 engineering and rehab. Moved by Jay, do I have a second? Second by Daryl. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Resolution K. Amend 2023 budget sheriff agreement with Village of Fort Edward for sheriff patrols within the village and surrounding areas. Moved by Daryl, do I have a second? Second by Sue. Any further discussions? Dana?
I remember during the discussion of this, there's about that there's an ability for true up.
It'll even be better than true up supervisor, it'll be actual. So we'll be billing quarterly, the actual cost.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Resolution number L,
I'll move that.
budget Helix Park.
Go back to, I'm sorry, Dr. K. This is also supposed to be for the sheriff to sign the contract with the village of Fort Edward with the effective date of May 1st.
That's going to the full board.
Okay, so we don't need to talk about that now. Okay,
Right, that
perfect.
was, yeah. I move that.
Okay. L was back to Helix Park. $11,000 for repairs and maintenance. Motion by John, do I have a second? Second by Darrell. Resolution M,
I can have a discussion.
oh, go ahead.
This is kind of an interfund transfer, correct? Because they're different funds, you go from fuels to buildings and grounds. We don't do that often, do we? In funds like this?
It's, at least it's two departments within general fund, so it's not real common, but it's better than it could be. It's better to go into fund balance.
Well, better than going to contingency. I guess.
Yes, sir.
We'll have a manager then.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution M, amend budget capital project number 113, home security grants for fiscal year 2023.
So moved.
Moved by Darrell, do I have a second? Second by Dana. Hogan. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
M is sign public safety recognized grant.
So moved.
Moved by Darrell, do I have a second? Second by John. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution O, budget for small business technical assistance program, an electric sign. And that's coming from grant money,
ARPA money.
ARPA money.
Where the electric sign you are?
Could be for the building here, so this is
So be, right, that would be the $25,000 to put toward the electronic sign, and then when we get the second amount of money, the $50,000 next year. Again, I believe Laura's plan is to allocate some of it to Lake George Regional Planning Board, and then the other $25,000 to the electronic sign, for a total of $50,000.
Is the electronic sign going to go to the east of DMV, where at one point we were thinking about putting a small parking lot?
I think it's
That
going to
grassy
be
area?
pretty close. We did a walkthrough a week ago, and it looks like it's probably gonna end up almost where it is now, the sign that's fallen apart. It would go in that same location. We walked the whole length trying to figure out if there was a better spot for it, and not knowing future plans of what's gonna happen with the parking lot and buildings. And the electric is already out to the existing sign.
What is the benefit of electronic sign over a standard fixed sign
Messaging.
without light bulbs, LEDs, electricity?
Messaging
You can
is a
change the-
huge part,
The message all the time.
yeah.
What, drive slower?
They can put my picture on.
Hazardous cleanup day on the 6th, please come, and then after that's over, start with the
They
next
could put a
day.
happy
Holiday,
birthday
yeah.
date on it.
No smoking.
Building closed due to storm or whatever.
Oh, don't ever close again.
Okay. I got a motion on that one?
Not yet.
Need a motion on that one? Motion by John, second by Darrell. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Yeah.
One nay. Resolution number P. Authorize and ratify signature agreement for cleaning and minor repairs of Building C with the Court Office of Court Administration.
Moved.
Move on that. Do I have a second? Second by Darrell. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Dana?
Buildings and grounds does not clean building C. The night shift doesn't go over to building C. We contract this out to somebody else.
No, this is for our buildings and grounds. Again,
We do it, and then the court pays us for it.
Yes.
I got it.
Associated Place Rents.
Okay.
Money made.
We were just notified, even though this has already been signed, we were notified by the courts that they would like to see a resolution every time the contract is expired to renew it. We haven't been doing that. The last one was 2008.
Okay, going back, we still have on the table auction truck results. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried, opposed? Auction truck.
It,
Huh?
I thought you just approved it.
No, we had to finish up the last one. Auction truck results.
The truck went to auction and it was bid, oh, I know. It was bid out at $10,100.
Got it.
Is that the one with no anything?
Easton got it. So what it does is it's a $10,100 bid. There's a buyer's premium, which doesn't matter to us, but that's what it is. It's $10,000.
And there was a minimum bid of how much? Jenny?
$7,000.
Lesson I've learned in town of Hartford, you need to peel the decals off. It says the town of Hartford, because when you go down the road, a big rock falls out. Somebody says it was a town of Hartford truck that we sold years ago. It wasn't.
Well, we always peel the stickers off. In fact, we send the sheriff trucks away to have them done because they're super sticky.
Move to accept the bid.
This doesn't have.
Moved by Jay, do I have a second? Second by Dana, voted. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
How you gonna get it back? Go.
You have something else, Deb?
Can I? Please, please.
Yeah,
We had two bids go out for carpool cars. One was for the gas-powered crew cab pickup, and we would like to award that to Joe Basil Chevrolet for $59,860.32, which is under what we budgeted. So that's what.
I'll make a motion.
motion by Darrell, over a second.
Second.
Second by Jay, further
Was that
discussion?
the only bid?
Nope, there were two other bids. One was for $63,080, and one was for $64,732.70 for McGuire and Maine
Who makes this truck?
Chevy.
And this was the, we'll take one diesel, one gas.
Yep.
This is the gas.
Okay,
And we also had a bid out for two vans. So the vans came back, the bidder that was the lowest price was not a van, it was actually an SUV, so I don't know, do we have to reject that one, or do we just go with this, the one that complied? We just go with the one that complied. So we would like to go with the one that complied, that is the lowest bid is from Hudson Motors Partnership. It's a Toyota Sienna LE for $37,296. If you compare notes, you'll see that that is over what we budgeted, but because we came in low on the gas for what we budgeted for the Foreman trucks, we have enough to cover these two vans, the excess now.
so I entertain a motion to authorize purchase. Motion by Jay, second by Darrell. Further discussion?
Carpool, that comes out of carpool.
This does?
Yes.
The what?
They're
What comes
carpool
out
cars.
of that?
They're
Carpool?
carpool cars.
Oh, yeah, these are carpool cars. Yep.
But that doesn't come out to 156.
No, they're budgeted.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Is that it, Deb? Next item is for information only. Let Melissa explain.
I think Gail had two that didn't make the packet. Fund loans.
Yep, so with your permission, Chairman.
Mhm.
Looking at the last three Marshall projects that we appropriated, we've set up capital projects for 131, 134, and 135. We have the Marshall agreements in place. We have the capital projects in place. What we don't have, and I'll throw myself under the bus because it should have been in the resolution for the budget. Each of them needs an authorization for the interfund loan because we front the money and then have to get reimbursed for it. So each of those Marshall projects should have an additional resolve that authorizes an interfund loan at the time it's created. And it does not appear that I did that in the 3 resolutions that we just passed this past year. So I'm gonna need resolutions to authorize interfund, probably be 3 separate. You'll see 3 separate interfund loan authorizations that allow me to interfund loan the project up to the Marshall aid.
That would go to the full board
Yes, sir.
next Friday.
Yes, sir.
So do we need,
It'll be in your packet in the morning that gets sent out, but it's not in this.
so we need 3 separate resolutions today? Or just do one blank?
However you want to do it, just know that there'll be 3.
Let's do it the easy way.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by John, do I have a second? Second by Gerald. Any further discussion? All in favor? Anything else, Ellen?
The ARPA fund carryover, the unspent ARPA, for the tactical weapons.
And I'm comfortable waiting until next month. If that's, I did take a look at it, but
All right, so next information only is SUNY Adirondack sponsorship contribution.
Does everyone have the worksheet that I emailed you? If not, I have extras. So I think you're all aware that there has been ongoing conversations with SUNY Adirondack. And Warren County and Washington County are both sponsors of SUNY Adirondack. While back, President Duffy made us aware that our local share, which is made up of Warren County and Washington County contributions, and the chargeback amounts are less than what is expected of sponsors. So she has requested both counties to take a look at what we currently contribute as sponsors to the college. And hopefully go from the 26% of local share that we are currently contributing up to the 33%, which is actually what is stated in the education law as what is expected of sponsors of the college. So currently, like I said, we the local share is 26%. The college would like to get us up to the 33%. If there is no interest to do that, the money that the college needs actually comes from tuition and other fees. So it's expected that, you know, people that enroll at SUNY Adirondack will have to pay more.
But isn't there an impact? Compared to and other things, if we cover 33%?
Yes.
I think you were talking about the state.
So,
contribution also.
right, so the contribution is supposed to be a third of the local share, which is your sponsors and your chargebacks. So it's Warren, Washington counties and the chargebacks. That's a third. A third is supposed to be the tuition and fees. And this is all stated in the education law. And the other third is supposed to come from New York State. Currently, New York State is below what is expected of them, as are their local sponsors, Warren and Washington County. So Warren County has talked about this a couple times in the last 6 months. We met with some representatives from Warren County a couple weeks ago. Our treasurer was able to come up with a financial plan, which is what you see on the worksheet in front of you. And we have scheduled a joint meeting at SUNY Adirondack on May 5th. So that'll be Warren County, Washington County, their college committees and the finance committees to discuss this proposal, because in order for this to happen, both counties have to be in agreement.
The state never represented that.
The state, I don't know that we've notified anybody from the state. Sure.
They're sure. They're sure.
I think that's kind of, that's been discussed by both counties actually, that if we get up to what's expected of us, that the next step is to actually advocate at the state level to have them
No,
step
they
up.
go first. Then we come up.
That would be nice.
That's what it should be. SUNY facility, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
That's a state law.
It is, it's in education law, the third.
I don't think it is a SUNY facility, it's in name only, they're doing business as Adirondack Community College.
No, it's still.
ACC, I think these other things are lipsticks on a pig.
Yeah, what are other counties doing for their community colleges?
They are actually, the peer contribution is much above what ours is. We're at like 12%, other peer contributions are like 16%. So they are paying considerably more. This is all information that's provided to us from the college.
And how about enrollment? The last few years, enrollment has been falling, right, at ACC?
It's been increasing.
Now it's coming back
It
up.
has been, every report we've had from them has been that it is increasing.
They don't have a full dorm, their dorm has vacancies. And their enrollment increasing are Saratoga County students, right? Mostly.
Enrollment is- I don't know how that's broken down, if they're getting more Saratoga. I can say that if both counties decide that they would like to contribute more as sponsors, the charge back to other counties that have enrollees at the college is going to be higher as well.
John Roosevelt?
They have the green ribbon cutting for the ball fields and all that. That was supposed to draw raise the, what do I want to say? Enrollment.
Supposed to be that for athletics.
Can they prove to us where it's raised the enrollment?
I think that's a,
I'm on the SUNY Adirondack Board of Trustees in Dana. It is not called SUNY Adirondack, they've changed their name
But what are they
To
doing business, what are they doing business as?
as a SUNY school.
It's not ACC.
And the turf fields are just being finished. So there's no numbers to show what it's done, but it's to raise the profile of the school, attract more students that might be interested in sports and so on, to up and running.
I think that when we had a conversation the year before, they did have some comparisons that showed where people were choosing to go to places where there were athletics. But I think that's a great question to ask them over there. The professionals have all the statistics, you've done all the research.
And the other part is that they are looking forward to possibly bringing in additional revenues by renting out the turf field for events, tournaments and things like that.
The ribbon cutting for that, I think it's May 4th.
Very fun.
It's right around the corner. And so, we'll see some change after it opens up. And turn out the communities. And local.
So currently for this year, we're gonna send them 1.607 million, right? And they're proposing these increases of 125,000 for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. At which point, they're trying to hit that back into that target of 33%.
Yes, sir.
That is a number that gets us that percentage. But is that an additional amount on top of a 2% or whatever we put in there? That's the only additional amount we would contribute to the college.
That's the additional,
Nothing else on top of that,
in lieu of the 2%.
in lieu of the 2%. So if we do what they are proposing in 28, 29, we'll be sending them 2.284 million.
Yes, sir.
Which would get us in Warren County at the 33%.
And then you could, in theory, go back to the 2%.
Well, they would probably try to tie that to say, the 33% target is this next year. That could be 1.6% or 3.8% or whatever, right? We're kind of backing into that to some degree. But there's no other gravy on top of this.
No, and I had run two different scenarios. One was taking a look at the delta each year. That was a much harder number to swallow.
Right.
This method is a smoothing, so it takes the 5 years of pain and kind of smooths it out rather than huge increases all at once.
But we're looking at giving them 6 to 8% over the next per year over the next 5 years.
Yes, sir.
And then a 2% to get us to that magical targeted number.
To once again, go back to maintaining a 2%.
And the three factors that determine that are Warren County share, Washington County share, and chargebacks, which are a number that we really don't have any way to predict.
Correct. Other than we know what they are today.
So we're using an estimate for chargebacks to back into what we're gonna potentially send them to get to that number.
Yes.
And there's no, as Dana would say, there's no true up to say if the chargebacks are up, then our contribution could be down or vice versa, right? We're sort of we're being asked to make a commitment for the next 6 years to do this, just this, with these numbers, no changes.
So this model is for discussion purposes. Each year at budget time, you would know the actual. And I can tell you already that from what I understand from Anne Marie, I believe they're coming to you with a 0% increase. And this assumes a 2%. So this is already more than what the actual ask would be for 24. So each year you would make a decision on the actual number. You wouldn't need to true up. This model is based on the college's budget going up 2% every year. And she's already come to us and told us that they kept it.
So the 125 is really not a firm number.
It is for discussion purposes. It's what you would have to do today. If the college's budget escalated to 2% a year for the next 5 years, this is the model that would get you.
Okay.
So there are several assumptions. One being the college goes up 2% every year.
That would be their budget.
Their operating budget goes up.
Operating budget increase. Okay.
Right. And the second assumption is that the Warren, Washington, and non-sponsor county apportionment stays consistent. Because that right now, 53% of the local share is actually paid by non-sponsor counties. So this assumes that stays
consistent,
static. Yeah.
I got
Quite a long time.
Jim first.
Just reinforcing what Al said about the 53% non-sponsored in Saratoga County. And it's because they do have was a satellite campus in Saratoga County. And they just got permission from the state to make that as official as the campus proper, if you will, as being part of that. Now, what that means, I don't know. 53% of the revenues of the chargebacks are coming from Saratoga County. And increasing.
So my assumption then that built into your model for discussion is commensurate state increases to bring that to effect.
Negative. This assumes only local share only. This model looks only at the 33% local share. Doesn't look at state or tuition.
Which could impact the other parts of the equation.
But not this part.
Back to Dana's point, by example.
John?
We mentioned that you've had meetings in Warren County. Where are they headed?
We've had meetings, I think as far back as 6 or 8 months. They've brought it to a couple committees. It hasn't really gone anywhere. They just mentioned it again, you probably saw in the paper last week, they mentioned it at their personnel and college committee meeting. I watched the meeting, there wasn't any action taken. So I think it's just informative, kind of what we're doing with you. We hadn't talked to you about it to see if there was even support or interest in increasing the sponsorship. So we just wanted to get you the facts, give you the request, and a way to get there if you wish to do so.
The first model they saw was considerably different than this.
Yeah.
Okay, but we don't have to agree on this when.
This is just information today.
Okay.
This is for you to chew on and bring to that joint meeting.
Matthew?
So if in the event that both counties are supportive of this, what's the mechanism, Dan, and how that would work? You wouldn't sign a contract, you wouldn't have an MOU, you wouldn't have a commitment, because we're only bound by till the next resolution. If you could get a board 3 years from now, it's like, things are terrible, we're not doing this. Is it sort of just a goal?
Yes.
So would we officially A, pass a resolution, or B, have anybody sign anything, or is it sort of, we're saying we think this is a good idea, we're gonna verbally commit to it? You know what I mean? And if 3 years from now Warren County says we're out, then we can say we're out. I mean, just.
You do it by the annual budget because
yeah,
it's not 33% because that's 33% from Washington, Warren County. But 1 year Warren may be paying more than us and we might be paying more because we're not paying.
No, I understand that part, Dana. I'm just saying that a couple years from now, things are tough and a supervisor says, you know, the budget gets voted down. And so it makes an amendment to cut this, cut this, cut this, cut this. And then it passes. So one of things cut is ACC. What does that trigger to Warren County? What does that trigger to ACC? I'm just trying to.
You can't make a 5-year resolution.
Get in my head, that's all.
You got Dana half first, then Sue.
What I just said.
Thanks. Sue?
In trying to understand this in the last group committee meeting, so it was interesting to hear about what sponsorship means in the original contract that we did how many years ago? And was it 25 years, 30 years, how long? When was the original contract?
1963.
1963.
I went to school there.
Yeah.
I went to school there.
Okay.
A long time ago.
There goes any support right there.
There we go. So looking back at the contract, I think we committed ourselves at that point to do certain things. And so I think listening to you know, Dr. Duffy and Anne Marie, and I think they're just revisiting what our responsibilities are as a sponsor and, you know, trying to right the ship. Great idea to call the state. They should be involved too. It's a great idea. I think we also covered what they've done for our communities. This makes me a little nervous. Saratoga being the official campus proper. You know, we think of it as being here in Warren, Washington County. So that's a pretty different scenario. But the amount of workforce they put back into our communities and looking at healthcare, you know, just what Danielle said with the workday program, having possible county employees coming back. You know, hopefully they come back here and stay. Maybe they're not just for maybe they're coming and living in the dorm. The pluses we get from the college are immense. But, you know, every time, you know, in Salem, we're re-looking at contracts, and some of them are decades old, and it's painful, but I think that's what it is.
So I just want to ask a question. I was a little confused. I mean, the campus proper is still headquarters. It's
Yeah,
from
it's
Queensborough.
one, exactly.
It's not going to Saratoga. That's just a satellite location.
Satellite location, is that what you said?
It's a level above a satellite location, if you would call it.
Yeah. So
It's equivalent to,
satellite.
it's equivalent to Queensborough.
And that's what I didn't clarify too. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So the determination is the lack of the 33% from the state uniform throughout the entire state?
Yeah.
Is it uniform where they're all getting about the same percentage from the state, or is it some of them at 17 and some of them at 21 and some of them at 36? Things like that. Any idea?
I don't know, but I would guess the latter based on some of Dr. Duffy's conversation.
Okay, so then the people who from the state who we would talk to would be the people that support us for the budget, right? So wouldn't it be our senator and our assemblyman should be at that meeting as opposed to some bureaucracy from the state,
They're the ones that make the funding decisions.
right? They're the ones that pass the budget, don't pass the budget. That's probably who we should ask.
Well, it probably is. And all the time I was doing, 5 years of lobbying about the mortgage tax, I was also lobbying about this. And I appreciate Dana's stance. But every single time I brought it up, what I was met with, well, you guys aren't doing yours either, so why should we, essentially? I think that, you know, my personal opinion is if we get out in front of this, we've got a really strong lobbying position. As of right now, they're doing as much as we are.
But they'd be the ones that we need to talk to.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Okay, all right.
it's the legislature.
That's right.
And to a certain extent, the governor and her, you know, her budget presentation, you know, that side's got to be on board also. But yes, we'd start with the legislature. And like I say, I tried to approach it every time I did the mortgage, was down there for the mortgage tax. I brought that up too, because that's a pretty significant number. And, you know, at least I was met with, you know, when you guys pony up, we'll talk about it. And it's this chicken or egg. I mean, it depends on which side of the fence you're sitting on as to who ought to blame first. I'm not sure what it is, but I think that if we did, we'd have a hell of a lot stronger position to try to force it.
Any other questions? Jay?
Just wait, thinking outside the box and nothing's ever simple. Is there any possibility of bringing Saratoga County in as a third sponsor? How was that changed the whole base?
I asked that same question naive with my first meeting. And they said, no, we don't want to do that. They're paying much more than a sponsor would.
Answered my question.
George, go ahead.
And that could be where we would be if we chose not to be a sponsor. We'd be at the mercy of whoever the sponsor was as far as our chargeback cost.
Other questions?
This is an informational thing for the fifth.
Yes, sir.
And so what's the agenda on the fifth? Are we gonna come to a resolution? Or is everybody just gonna go in and shoot their mouths off and pontificate? We'll be there for 3 hours and not accomplish anything.
Hopefully you come to resolution.
One way or the other, by both counties.
Both counties and all the college people.
We would then have to bring back to the full board.
Why?
Why? It's a budgeted item, wouldn't come back to the full
What
board.
happens after May 5th?
I think we're gonna increase contributions, that should be approved by the full board.
You have to approve the budget.
Is that a deadline with the college?
We have an annual.
That's
Or
just the
for their
meeting.
budget?
That,
No,
From the meeting.
the May 5th is just the meeting to have the joint discussion with both counties.
I mean, if there's not a hard fixed timeline, it seems like budget time for us. Because when we see the big picture, whether or not,
But they're on a fiscal.
that's what I'm wondering.
That's what they're trying to get us to make a commitment so they can budget in their budget.
Because their presentation for their budget, I believe, is usually in June. So then they would know what was coming.
So that's really when we have to commit by June.
I mean, they were looking for it, well, probably 6 months or a year ago.
Your meeting on the fifth will tell Anne Marie what budget to present to you in June.
any other conversation on this?
How do we do that when our budget is January?
So the budget that you approve in June for the college triggers your 2024 contribution to the college. You pay them in 3 installments in the following year. So the decision you make in July sets your 2024 allocation.
If the county budget is approved for that.
Yeah.
It's always another shoe when you get out of sequence.
Which was kind of Mr. Hicks's point is, this is only as good as the next budget.
And the next board and the next.
So, any question, either Sue or Jim might know the answer to this. That athletic field was not paid for by normal operating funds, it was paid by the foundation, was it?
It came through, the invitation came through. the
No,
foundation.
not the invitation, but the money to build the field.
That's state grant.
A chunk of it.
Part of it was raised with donations, part of it came from the foundation. And the foundation is now looking for grants and other donations to reimburse the foundation.
Okay, so it's
So
not
it was
coming out,
not-
not coming out of the normal budget, it's not affecting our contribution. Thank you, thanks for that clarification. Any other questions?
All right, what would that percent be hit on our budget? Start to think about budget time next year.
If it's an 8% increase in their budget, it's 125,000 out of our 2% caps, what, probably about 700,000?
So it's a different number each year, Jay, because it's 25, 125, and then another 125. So it's accumulated. You know what I mean? So it accumulates. It's not 125 each year. It's another 125 each year to get up to that 6, whatever the number
Right,
is.
but like for next year's budget, that would be.
But our 2% caps about 700 grand, right?
Correct.
And so 125, so about 20% of our cap would be eaten by this one thing. And
Okay. Any other business? Jim?
And to the transaction for agreement, how do we go about codifying that?
I'll ask Roger about that.
Can I make a motion that we direct the
county attorney to draft the resolution for the next meeting, make that a formal policy.
It's a board meeting or?
I'd like it for the next board meeting.
So, prep.
Okay. There a second?
Next Friday.
Right now, there is no policy, it's just
I'm gonna create one.
if you do or you don't.
Second by Darrell.
We're gonna have a motion to instruct Roger when he comes back Tuesday to have a policy by Friday that we don't even have to go through committee yet. What are we rushing to do it by Friday for?
Let's not do it that way. It's my motion.
That's silly. Let's get the policy, let's vet it, let's change it, let's codify it, let's be comfortable with it.
For Greenwood, so it won't be complicated. Whatever we did for Greenwood, we make it a formal policy going forward.
What's the rush?
Greenwich was not done on the policy, but you want a policy that we approve without seeing it.
Based on.
Which goes through government,
So
it
this
should be
is
done the proper.
Another
procedure.
special thing
As
to
long as I
do.
have your support, then we'll go ahead and do it that way.
Support of what?
So whatever this policy.
I'm not supporting a policy that I don't see, Dana. I can't read.
I'm supporting the intent of the policy.
Well, you gotta read it.
I'll redo it next. What? Will be best
Coming
coming
up,
up.
10 days from now.
Yeah.
Government should be place to start if we have to do it. We can do something.
I'm not against any kind of policy, but I gotta see the policy first to see if I am against it or not. I've never been this.
So we've got a motion to ask the county attorney to bring a resolution, proposed resolution to government ops to codify what we've done with Greenwich as what we do going forward.
Cambridge.
Cambridge.
Greenwich.
Greenwich.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Second by Darrell. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Any other business? Thank you, we're adjourned.